Welcome back to Stuff About Money with Xavier Angel and Erik Garcia, your certified financial planners.
Hmm. You're certified financial.
Yes, absolutely. So, Erik, dude, let me start
Xavier.
this off with a
Dude,
little something.
Xavier, dude, start us off, my man. Start us off,
I
dude.
was reflecting this morning, and I was thinking about some.
Reflecting.
I was reflecting this morning. This morning, I had it was a longer commute time than normal. I think it took me about 55 minutes to get here.
Did you
I
come
was coming.
straight here?
Well, I was coming from an opposite direction. I had a meeting at 7 a.m. this morning. And
Gotcha.
so traffic was a little bit heavier coming from the
Mm,
west side of the city. And so a little bit more time to reflect. And
gotcha.
so I started thinking about some of the habits I had earlier on when I was, in college and then within the first year and a half of working and
What
making money.
prompted? I'm curious to know before you get into your what you were reflecting on, because whenever you have windshield time, you always have these deep reflections. I'm curious to
Mhm.
know what led you to reflect.
It was actual conversations with that I had with clients over the last couple days, and the clients were talking about how, or this one particular client was talking about how she's got this budgeting strategy and she knows she needs to start saving more money, but
Hmm.
she's not happy in doing it because she's not able to go to Home Goods. She's she said, look, I love going to Home Goods. I love shopping. I got to get things there. It makes me feel good.
Home Good has good deals,
They
and you
do.
never know what you're going to find there.
Right. It's always something different, and it's always something different at different locations. And so, she was talking about how she's not happy because she can't go in there and she can't do the shopping, and shopping makes her happy.
Hmm.
And so, thinking about that, it made me come back and start thinking about where I was at a certain point in my life. And so when I was in college, for those that don't know, I got my undergrad was in physics. And so I'd walk out of a physics exam or a math exam, and the first thing that I would do was walk down the street to the local record store. And this was on a weekly basis. And I'd walk in there and I'd buy a CD, and it made me feel happy,
Is
right?
that when you bought
Because
Naughty by Nature?
I actually bought Naughty by Nature, not there. No, that was probably the summer before I started college is when I bought that one.
All right.
Um, but it made me feel good, right? And in my mind, I was thinking, I deserve this. It's been a hard week between getting up early and going to practice and spending late nights studying for these exams. I wanted to reward myself, and so I'd go buy a
Mm.
CD. And my thought process of I deserve this actually helped to justify those habits that I had. And this actually continued once I started working in my first career. I'd go out at the end of the month and I would reward myself and purchase a watch, or even a pair of shoes. And that was the way that I would justify having that rough week or that rough month.
How
So
many watches and shoes did you have?
I probably, and it wasn't, I probably was buying the watches maybe over the course of a year and a half, just under 2 years. So I think between, and back then I wasn't making a lot of money. So my watches were Fossil, Michael Kors. I think I bought one or two Movados, but that's how I justified, having those rough weeks or those rough months.
So you wanted that dopamine hit. That
That is it. Yes,
wanted to feel
absolutely.
good. That was your drug, spending money on watches and shoes.
Absolutely. Tennis shoes, dress shoes, because back then, I was wearing I wasn't wearing polo shirts back then, right? I would
Mm.
wear I'd have my coat and tie on. I wouldn't leave the house without a coat and tie up until COVID. COVID changed everything. Actually, coming into the office and working next to you changed that.
I never wear a coat and tie. I think I might wear a coat and tie like twice a year.
If that much, I think you get away with the coat, but not the coat and tie.
Mm.
So
All right,
it's one or the other.
So you're driving into work, reflecting on this, and like, are you like, have you changed your ways? I mean, do you still do
Yeah. No, I've changed, my ways have changed.
that? Okay.
Now it's the question is, do I need this? Right? Is it a need? Is it a necessity? Or is it something that's just going to make me happy? Right? Um, and that's the thinking now. So when you mentioned it, I think earlier this year, you and I were having a conversation, and one of the things that you said to me, and I went back and thought about this was, you don't see me spending a lot of money, but when I do spend, I spend big, right? It's
Me or you? I
no me. You
oh
were saying this about me.
oh okay, I gotcha. Okay.
Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
thought you're saying I said that. I'm like, I don't remember saying that.
Well, no, that was your statement to me when we were
Okay.
having a conversation. Not that you go out there and buy these big things,
Okay.
right? Because when I go out and I spend money, it's either, it was the purchase of the car, it was building a pool, it's taking the family on vacation.
That's right. I think I said it in context of the pool.
Right, exactly. And so yeah, has that habit changed? Absolutely, that habit has changed. Now it's more of thinking that, do I need it? Is it a necessity or is it a want? And
No,
so now
you were doing
distinguishing
that.
those.
You were doing that early in your career, right? This was
Correct.
before
Correct.
marriage, before kids.
Correct. Absolutely.
What I'm curious, what would have happened if you persisted in that once you had the responsibility of a family?
Life would be different, right? Because you wouldn't, and I wouldn't be able to do the same things that I do today if I would have kept doing that, because I wouldn't have the money. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have been able to plan, to have the foresight to plan for things in the future. And I think that's what changed. It's having those responsibilities which forced me to take a step back and look at the things that I do.
It's like maybe your finances could be like you could be in crisis if you didn't
Correct.
stop doing that.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And being here in the Gulf Coast, along the Gulf Coast, you never know when we're going to have to pack up and evacuate.
Mm-hmm.
We never know how long it's going to take for us to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are things that I didn't think about early on. And once I got married, it's stuff happens, right?
Yeah. Your
You
wife
know,
changed you.
yeah, she did. But I will say she changed me, but she changed me for the better. So there are no complaints there. I'm a better person because of her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We're talking about, ask the question about would you be in financial crisis? 58, this is wild. 58% of Americans say that their finances are in crisis. That is a wild
that
number.
is.
On our last podcast, we talked about how money haunts people. We talked about
Hmm.
anxiety and money, and one of the stats that we dropped was, I think, somewhere like 40 to 50% of people reported that money impacts their mental health. And I wonder if um, that kind of that what you would tell yourself when you were younger, I deserve this, I worked hard for this, and you go spend the money. I wonder if those decisions lead to this stat of people being in financial crisis. It's almost like a storyline that they tell themselves, or a money script, or a lie that they tell themselves that I deserve this, I should buy it, even if it's going to put me in potential crisis, even if it's going to put me back financially, even if there's something probably more important I should be spending my money on.
Right. Which it comes back to, it's a way to justify, your spending.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
because if I can talk myself into why I need this, then it makes it okay for me to go out there and spend the money on that particular, whatever it may be.
In fact, in fact, I think that there's, uh, I think there's stories. I'm gonna call them lies. Let's call them lies.
Hmm.
I think they're lies that we tell ourselves about money. We're all guilty of this. Just some are guilty of it at different levels, right?
Right.
Levels that are more material than others. But I think there's three lies that we tell ourselves when it comes to money that puts us potentially in crisis, or puts us in a position where we don't feel good about our finances when we reflect back. You're reflecting back and you feel good about where you've come with your finances, right?
Right.
I think all too often people tell themselves these lies, and um, they never maybe own them or admit to them,
Mm-hmm.
and it continues to put their finances in crisis. I don't, that's a big word, but we'll just kind of stick with it. And one of those lies is I deserve this, right?
Right.
Another one of those lies is I'll save more when I make more money.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say a third big lie that we kind of tell ourselves, and this is less to do on the spending side, but I think it impacts our net worth over time, is I can beat the stock market.
Right.
I can time the stock market. So let's talk about each of those. Let's talk about each of those lies in a little bit more depth. Number one, I'll save more when I make more. Number two, your story that I deserve this. And then the third one, I can time the stock market.
Mm-hmm. So I'll save when I have more. I hear that often.
Which one?
Right.
Oh, I'll save when I have more.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll save when I have
I'll
more.
say when I, yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
I think that is a common, and air quotes, money lie that we tell ourselves, right? And it's just that it's a way for us to continue to put it off. You know, uh,
I do want to be sensitive to the fact, right? Let me rephrase that. I want to recognize the fact that the numbers are staggering in terms of Americans that live paycheck to paycheck. So if you live paycheck to paycheck, what that tells me is you don't have any margin in your financial life. I don't want to say the numbers over 60% of Americans who live paycheck to paycheck, which means 100% of the money you get paid at the beginning of the month covers your 100% of your expenses. Or you could possibly be deficit spending and borrowing more, putting things on your credit card, right? So like that's a reality. Now, the reason for that reality could be different for different
mm-hmm.
people. And I want to recognize the fact there are just some people out there who just don't earn a lot of money. There's people out there who are just in situations which are hard. But also recognize the fact that there are people out there who are making money decisions that are against what they're really trying to accomplish. They're working against themselves when it comes to some goal, financial goal that they set for themselves.
Mm-hmm. And so, time out. I was going somewhere where I shouldn't go.
And now let's hear it. I'm curious to know where you're going to go. Where were you going to go?
So, I was going to talk about, I see people, and I talk to people all the time, and they come in and they talk about, well, I don't have any money to save. All right. And I look at them, I'm looking in there, I'm staring them in their face.
You're like in their soul.
And I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, wait a minute. We're friends on Facebook. I'm looking at you post pictures of your meal that you had on Friday and Saturday and maybe brunch on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at pictures of you post as your.
Why didn't you want to go here? And this is the perfectly legitimate place to go.
I'm looking at the people who take their vacations. I saw an individual who went to Europe. Right. I know your finance, or I know their finances, and yet they're taking a 5 to 7 day trip to Europe and posting pictures of a photo shoot that they did while they were in Europe. It's.
Let me pause here. Let me say one thing. I want to say and clarify something really quick for our listeners. I don't want you to hear Xavier and I say that we do not support indulging yourself. We support, if you have money, enjoy it. You work for a reason. If you've been successful, take European trips. Buy yourself a watch. Buy yourself the expensive meal. We're not against that at all. What we advocate for is making sure that you are using your money for the things that you tell us is most important to you. So when our clients say it's really important that my kid goes to college because no one in my family has gone to college. Or when someone says it's really important for me to save for retirement because I don't want to work till I'm 75. And then we put together a plan and you tell us, well, you don't have the money to save. And we're going to push back and we're going to challenge you and say, hey, I thought this was important to you. You're telling me that you're going to save when you make more. When are you going to start making more? Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like saying, let's change the context.
Yeah.
It's I'm going to start working out, I don't know, when I have more time. You're never going to start working out.
Yeah, you've got to make time.
You've got to start. You've got to start somewhere. Even if it's a little bit, right? Saving is like it's a muscle. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets. The more you save, the easier it gets to save.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people just need to start. And here's something that's interesting.
Start and let me jump in real quick, Eric. And
go ahead.
Not only start, but I think when you're saving, you have to purpose those accounts. Because if your thing is
traveling, I know you're speaking my language now.
Oh, am I? Well, hey, we've been spending too much time together. So, if you know that there's something that is out there that you want to do, whether it's travel, whether it's prepare for education for children, whether it's high school, college, what have you, let's purpose those accounts.
Yeah,
it's if you purpose it and you start, you get into the habit of doing it on a regular basis.
Well, then rather than putting it on credit, right? Rather than putting your trip on credit and paying it off over 12 months, you're prepaying it. You're not going into debt for that expenditure. But let's talk about the point of this is not just necessarily to save to spend, right? I'm going to save money to go on a trip this year. That's important. But I'm going to save not to spend so that I have financial margin. So that if an emergency happens, I can cover it without going into debt. That when the time comes and I'm ready to walk away from my work, I've saved enough to be able to support myself in retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that is what we're talking about. And you've got to start somewhere. The longer you wait, the harder it is.
Right. Absolutely.
I was talking to, on the health side, I was talking to someone the other day, and one of their goals this year was to get healthier. And what we're in 10 months into the year, starting the 11th month, and they haven't reached that goal. And I said, how important is it for you to get healthier? Like, it's really important. And I said, well, how much money have you spent towards that goal? What do you mean? I said, go hire yourself a personal trainer. You can afford $200, $300 a month. That's not gonna hurt. That's not gonna put you out. You said that this is important. Go spend the money towards it. So if saving is important to you, you have to start. If retirement savings is important to you, you start small, automate it. If you're in a 401k plan, at least take advantage of the match. And then every year increase it by 1% or 2%. Or when you get that pay raise, the first thing you should do is increase your savings. Here's what's interesting. If you save at the beginning of your paycheck, meaning let's just say you get paid once a month to make this easy. All right, let's say you get paid on the 15th every month, okay? You should save on the 16th at the beginning of the paycheck. Save first, and then you can only spend what's left. Right? If you wait to save at the end of the paycheck, you'll never have anything at the end of the paycheck. If you try to save on the 14th of every month, you're going to be out of money.
Right.
So this is a little hack there, and automate that. Right? Your great thing about 401k is it's automated. You don't even see it. You don't even feel it. Right? So if you have another savings account, maybe an emergency fund, create an automatic transfer on the 16th of every month if you get paid on the 15th. $100, $200 from your checking account to a savings account. Save it to another bank if you have to, right? Out of sight, out of mind. If you're in the habit of just spending what you see in your account, hold it somewhere else. All right, so that's lie number one. I'll save when I make more.
All right, take us into lie number two.
Well, this is your story. I deserve this purchase. I work hard. I just took a physics exam, and I am worn out. I went into, I was a management major at Tulane's business school for a couple reasons. One is my brother was a mechanical engineer at Tulane, and I remember watching him study, and I'm like, there's no way I'm taking differential equations. There's no way. If I did, I probably would have 16 watches like you.
You look, I did buying those watches, those shoes, um, especially those CDs during those college years where I wasn't
Yeah.
making a lot of money. You know, when stuff happens, you don't have any flexibility to do things that you ultimately want to do. So,
Yeah.
when I look back on it, it wasn't necessarily the smartest thing that I could have done back then.
Well, we've all heard it. It's retail therapy, right? I'm feeling sad, so I'm going to go spend money on something. I'm going to go scroll through Amazon and find something that I like, right? Because you get that hit of dopamine, right? That's what we love, right? That's why
Right.
we like eating sugar or we drink alcohol because that the instant hit of dopamine and
hmm
we feel good, and then we're left, especially if you swipe your credit card, you're left 30 days later with that expense without the money to pay for
Right.
it.
Right.
Or you just tell yourself you'll pay for it over 6 months. Well, let me tell you something. If you carry a balance on a credit card, um, you're probably paying anywhere from 20 to 30% a year in interest on that balance. So if you carry a perpetual $2,000 balance on a credit card, what's that? $600 a
600.
year just in interest, if that's a perpetual balance. Now, it doesn't sound like that much, but if you took that 600 and invested it over a 20, 30-year period, you're talking about huge amounts of money.
And also think about it. That's just over a course of 12 months. What happens if you don't get it paid off in 12 months? Well, now you're rolling into another 600 if
Yeah.
you don't get it paid off.
Well,
So,
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
right.
In the same way investments compound over time, right? Your money doubles every 10 years if you earn 7.2% on it. Uh, Debt compounds over time as well with that interest rate.
hmm
So carrying debt, buying something that you feel like you deserve when you don't have the money for it is expensive and is
Yeah.
burdensome. Now, again, we're not saying don't spend money. We're not saying that at all. I mean, we opened up with you putting in a pool this year, right?
Right.
It cost you money, but it was
It it
important.
it, it
It
was.
was in alignment with what's important for you and your family, and it was a good use of your money.
And a strategy was laid out. You and I, we went over the pros and cons of it often. I think I went back and forth with you on it for several weeks, maybe 3 4 weeks. I went, we looked at it before I even brought it to the table and ran it by Maureen. Right. So it wasn't something that I did at the whim. I it was planned out.
It was an impulse.
Right.
Yeah. Here's a crazy stat: 71% of Americans impulse shop. An average impulse purchase is $150 a month. Now, again, is $150 a month a lot? Depends. Maybe, maybe not. If you're carrying debt, if you're carrying that unsecured debt like a credit card or something like that, and you're adding 150 additional a month, man, it adds up fast, um, really fast. So, I mean, and again, we're not suggesting not to spend money on yourself, but budget for it. Budget for impulse purchases. Now that sounds kind of crazy. It's no longer really impulsive, but hey, in my budget, I can spend $150, $200, $300, $1,000, whatever relative to your income. I can spend X amount without really, having to stop and think about it.
And
Uh,
it comes back to having a plan. Create that strategy.
yeah.
Sit back, take a look at what your finances are, and know what's important to you, and then make those decisions.
Or you can even you implement some type of like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, a cooling off period, right? Where, I really want to buy a new pair of Jordans, right? But it's like, man, like
Mhm.
my wife also wants to take a trip and I also have to pay tuition. Man, but I could easily walk into the mall right now and drop $200 on a pair of Jordans if I wanted to. Um, but I don't. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna think about it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm glad I didn't buy it. And the next time I'm in the mall, you know, we're in the mall the other day, and my wife was in one store. I'm like, I'm gonna go to Foot Locker, and they had some really nice Air Force Ones. I said, oh, I could use those. I'm like, do I really need them? I got two other pairs of Air Force Ones that are perfectly fine right now. And I was like, I could buy this right now. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna impulse buy it. If I still want it later, I'll buy it later. But kind
So
of
did you
creating
go
that
back the
discipline.
following day?
I didn't go back the following day. I didn't go back the following day. I got tuition to pay, man. College is expensive. My daughter sends me an email or a text last night. She goes, I thought tuition was X, but why is the fee bill saying like X plus, a few thousand more? And I'm like, that's all the extras that they hit you with that they don't tell you about that just add up. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I guess I'm being intentional about paying for things that are, I guess we've deemed important. Educating my kid, I
Mhm.
guess, is one of those important things. Again, I'll buy things. This summer, I mean, our running joke here is one of the things I wanted to do this summer was get better at golf, right? And golf isn't a cheap game. And I sat back and said, do I want to spend the money to play this sport, to get better at this sport? And I sat back and said, you know what? I work hard. Um, I enjoy playing, even though I'm terrible. I want to get better. Um, do I quote unquote, I deserved, I budgeted for it and I made it happen. Right. So like, I'm not suggesting, again, I want to say this, I want to be perfectly clear that we're not suggesting, live a monkish life and never spend any money, but just do it prudently.
So now I know when I can't find you or you're not answering your call. Now I know where you are, right? You're out on a golf course.
Maybe, maybe. I wish. I wish. No, but leisure is important to me.
It is, and it should be
Um,
because it's a way to come down.
yeah, and I will say this, and especially for our business owner clients listening to this, or for our business owner listeners, is if you own a business, one of the things that you're responsible for that I don't think enough people realize this is we make a lot of decisions. There's an emotional burden of operating a business when you're responsible for money, you're responsible for staff, you're responsible for clients. And we make a lot of decisions, and decisions might not take a lot of physical time, like, right? But there's a lot of mental energy. And maybe there's physical time. It's running in the background, right? You're constantly
Hmm.
thinking, making these decisions. So there is a sense of, man, like I deserve a break. I deserve time off. So yeah, for me, going to play golf it's like going to the gym for someone else. It's a way for me to decompress. So yeah, so we are saying, yeah, maybe you do deserve something, but just make sure when you do it, you're doing it prudently and
Intentionally.
wisely, intentionally. That's
Right.
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 Budget your impulse buying. Budget when you think you deserve money, or create a goal. Like, here's my financial goal. When I hit it, I'm going to go blow money on a vacation.
Mm.
Right? It's a reward. All right.
All right. Let's take us in the money lie 3. I can time the
Money.
market.
I can time the market, man. I can time the market. I know when it's going to go up, and I know when it's going to go
It's
down.
crazy how often
All the time.
I hear this all the time. I actually got I actually had a client yesterday, and it was or a conversation yesterday, and it was, thank you for talking me out of trying to time the markets.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about gold. He wanted to
Mm.
buy gold. So
Gold's been up. Gold's been up a lot this year.
it was down yesterday.
Yeah, but it's been up a lot this year. Yeah.
I
Well,
it has
buying now, you got to ask yourself, well, it's kind of run. Are you
right.
are you buying in high? You buying at the top? You buying in when it's expensive? The time to buy in would have been, 12 months
Right.
ago. Um,
Right.
but
Yep. So but that is something that we hear often.
yeah, and here's the reality. If you make 10 stock decisions, you're going to get one or two or three right, maybe. You might buy at the right time. But the challenge is, how do you consistently make those decisions to buy at the right time and sell at the right time, right? When you're timing the market, there's two decisions. You have to be right twice. You have to be right going in, you have to be right going out. So there's two decisions that need to be made. This is wild. This is a Dalbar study. Do you know how much the average investor underperforms the S&P 500 annually?
Underperforms. If I had to guess,
That's so underperforms the market.
60, 65%, somewhere in there.
No, they underperform 3 to 4%. So if the market's
Okay.
up 10, they're down. They're only up 6 or 7 annually on a regular
I
basis.
got you. I got you. All right.
And when it comes to investing, one of the challenges is, and I would say this is the hardest thing for investment advisors, for people picking stocks, even for clients, is to put their emotions behind them, right? Whenever you're making a stock decision, I feel that this is a good decision. Well, it's usually an emotional decision, right? I really like this company, or, this company has some sentimental value to me. And the problem when we start making investment decisions purely off of emotions, the average investor just doesn't have a good track record of timing the market. That if you want to make money in the stock market over time, the best way is to stay in it over time. Right? There's an adage: don't time the market, spend time in the market. So, if you think you can make the right decision every single time, chances are you're going to find yourself on the losing end. Now, I will say this. After saying all of that, I personally like the idea of trying to, pick the right stock. And we talked about this a little earlier, your name and accounts. I've got an arcade account. My arcade account. Remember when as kids, you'd go to the arcade, you'd blow a bunch of tokens, and maybe you'd win, and maybe you didn't. And if you won, you had all kinds of tickets, and you could take those tickets and exchange them for like cool trinkets, right? I have no problem. In fact, I love it when clients, and I recommend clients do this. Our model is we are long-term investors. We're trying to grow assets over a long period of time for our clients. We're not trying to guess the market. We're not trying to time the market. We will advise our clients, as I have advised myself, hey, peel off a few bucks, whatever you're comfortable maybe losing, and put it in your arcade account and go at it. I don't want to be responsible for it. I don't want to tell you when to buy. I don't want to tell you when to sell. But I also don't want you to call me and ask me to put a large percentage of your money in a particular stock because you think it's going to go up. And I've had clients who've called and they've wanted bigger positions in individual companies, and after talking through it, we make sure that it's a prudent amount for their portfolio, and we'll accommodate to the extent that we can. And we'll typically put it in a separate account because I'm not going to take the liability for you timing the market. But the reality is that most of us can't time the market.
So, Erik, why don't you wrap those up for us and summarize those 3 money lines for us?
Let's wrap it up. Money line number 1, I'll save when I make more. No, you won't. Start saving now, even if it's small, right? It's like a muscle. Saving is a muscle. Start now, don't wait. Automate it. Make it easy. Spending because you deserve something. Yeah, maybe you do deserve it. But if you're buying things when you have debt, you're possibly sabotaging the financial goals that you have set. Things that might be more important to you. And the third, you can't time the market. Maybe you get it right over time, but I'm going to tell you, long-term patience is going to far outperform short-term prediction.
Absolutely.
And that's hard. That's hard because sometimes you our greed, our fear gets the best of us. I want to sell because I'm afraid, or I want to buy because I want to make more, right? Or man, I just read a report about something and it's more, it seems more real to me than it really is. Um,
Hmm.
and therefore I want to make I want to buy or sell something, especially right now in the day of AI. Um, you have, I listen to two professionals. This is on the time of the market. One on one hand will say, hey, um, there's a potential drawback in the AI trade. It's gotten too far ahead of itself. And there's the other side that says, no, it still has legs to run. And my guess, they're both probably right, is we went really high, really fast, and there's going to be some correction. Don't know when, because I can't time the market. But this trade's going to last for a long period of time. So the way to make money in it is to hang out in it for a long period of time. Don't run when it pulls back, and don't necessarily throw more just because you think you're going to make more money because it's rising.
Hmm.
Again, staying in the market. So I think it's important to kind of shift your mindset,
Right.
right? Is when you find yourself spending money, I think it's really important, just like you did, reflect, say, hey, does this make sense? Is this purchase justified? Am I telling myself some story that I want to believe to justify some behavior or to validate some emotion that I'm feeling? Um, and money, building wealth long term is more about behavior than about always being right.
So
And
I've
the
got I've
behavior.
got an I've got an action item,
Mhm.
um, call to action for our listeners.
Yeah.
So I challenge you, take a minute throughout this upcoming week and try to catch yourself in one of those money lies. You
Ooh.
know, when you hear that voice sitting on your shoulder or in your head and it says, I'll save later, or I deserve that, or deserve this, flip that into one of the money truths, right? Rather than saying, I'll save later, think about, I should start today. If you hear that voice say, I deserve this, ask yourself, is it a want or is it a need? So I challenge you guys this week.
That's good. That's good, man. All right, Xavier. It's good seeing you around, man, on this podcast. I like when you show up.
I'm here. What can I say? Life happens, right?
All right, y'all go out there, plan wisely, live confidently.